Money Talk with Melanie features lively discussions of a wide range of global, domestic, and kitchen table financial topics. Guest interviews include entrepreneurs, CEOs, and politicos who are experts in their fields. Be sure to listen up. This is important because it's your money. Your money. Be sure to listen to Money Talk with Melanie. Money Talk with Melanie. Thursdays, 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern Time on 98.7 The Coast.
And welcome to Money Talk with Melanie. I'm your host, Melanie Collette, here on 98.7 The Coast in beautiful Wildwood, New Jersey on this beautiful, crisp, cold evening. You know, we got a little taste of spring the other day. It was like 70 degrees, and then we went back to like 30. It was so unfair, but it is a beautiful evening here in Wildwood at 98.7 The Coast here on Money Talk with Melanie. I'm so happy to be back here in the studio to talk to you all this evening. This evening's guests are Shellee Howard. She's the CEO of College Ready, and she's going to talk to us this evening about how to send your student to college without losing your mind or money. Very interesting guest. She's going to have a lot to talk to us about. So if you have a student who is going to be going to college soon, if you have a junior in high school, I would say, it's time to start looking, time to start really thinking about that, about how if you have a student that's planning on going to college, you should have been thinking about that a while ago. If you just had a kid, then you should be talking to your financial advisor about a 529 FYI. If you do not know what that is, consult your local financial advisor or Professor Google and think about that. Just saying. But we're going to talk to Shellee Howard about that because you won't even need a 529 when we're done talking to her, because she's going to talk to you about how to do it all debt-free. And our second hour, we're going to speak with Sheri Barbera, and she is the CEO and founder of Zazoo LLC. And she's going to talk to us about the basics of NFTs, which is a real financial craze as of late. And I've been really anxious to talk to her because I don't know very much about NFTs. And they're a very popular investment related to cryptocurrency. So I thought that we would go over the basics this evening. What are they? Are they a good investment? Are they a bad investment? I've heard some good things, some bad things about them. And, we're moving more and more to a cashless society, and it has its good and bad points. As a capitalist, I love the good money-making qualities about it. As someone who hates big government and government control, it freaks me out that the government could just press a button and take away your cash, a la Canada, what Canada did with the truckers last month. And, the United States didn't really say much about that, which also is a bit frightening. I feel like our government should have said, hey, Canada, I thought you were a democracy, and you probably shouldn't be freezing people's accounts because they took a political position you didn't agree with. That is not very democratic, and locking people up. That's not a super democratic thing. But they don't. But they don't have a constitution. So there you are. So you have Prime Minister Trudeau who was like, I'm not really digging your anti-mandate stance. So no money for you. I'm just going to take away access to your money. So that's kind of the issue with a cashless society. You're giving the government a lot of your control. But NFTs are a financial tool, and I think we need to know more about it. And we need to know more about this cashless society as we move closer and closer to maybe an all cashless society. That is being discussed by the powers that be. We need to open our ears, ladies and gentlemen, and really think about what we're allowing our government to have access to in our lives. Pay attention to the laws that are being passed. These big, thick bills that the government pass, the devil's in the details. When the media talks about the bills that are passed, they usually will tell us that they just passed a bill for clean drinking water. And then what you find out is that the bill was 1,000 pages. Well, wait a minute. How many lines of text does it take to say we want cleaner drinking water? It would seem that it doesn't take 1,000 pages to say that. So what else does that bill say? Probably says a whole lot of other things like, by the way, along with that clean drinking water, we're also going to have the power to shut off your access to your cash. And it'll say crazy stuff like that in the bill. FYI, I don't think a lot of people realize this. You can go to whitehouse.gov, and there's an area of the website where you can find out every single bill, executive order, and something called a memo that the government passes, all of which affect your life every single day. I mean, a memo is not really a law, but kind of acts like a law. Like the president issues these memos. So it's kind of like a rule. So unless somebody contests it and takes somebody to court over it, it's kind of a rule that you have to follow, but not necessarily a law. So you have those, and then you have executive orders, and then you have actual laws. And if you go to whitehouse.gov, there's an area of the website that tells you all of those things that are passed. And not for nothing, it tells you the truth. You can read it, as opposed to the media spin on either side of the aisle as far as what the laws actually say. Because the media on both sides does a really good job of telling you that the laws say what they say the laws say. But that oftentimes it's not true. So you have to be really careful about that. You want to know exactly what the text says, go to whitehouse.gov and read the stuff for yourself. But the government in general, and this is both sides of the aisle, know that I hate to say this, that their constituency is generally very busy raising their families and making sure their families are safe and trying to put food on the table and are not paying attention. And so they pass things that we are not paying attention to. So they say that they're completely transparent, which they are. They post it on the web and put it in a book somewhere and rely on the fact that you're not going to go look. But you should go look. And there's usually also a public commentary period, so to speak, where the law is posted before they actually pass it, where you're supposed to be able to like view it and look at it and talk about it with your legislators. There's an open process where that happens. But again, they rely on the fact that you're not paying attention. So I'm just saying. But the Cashless Society, which is one of the reasons why I try to regularly talk about crypto and NFT and different cashless modalities. This is the reason why, because we really are moving toward a cashless society. And like I said, again, and I'm as techie as they come. While I talk a lot about finance and economics, the other thing that I also teach is technology. It's a weird combination, maybe. I teach economics, but I also teach computer applications. Weird, but it's what I do. So, the cryptocurrency and NFT and all that stuff and the marriage of economics is kind of right there in my wheelhouse. I love both, and I love that it works and that it's a thing, like blockchain technology, really cool, but also really scary. So because a lot of it started off on the dark web, and if you don't know what the dark web is, consult Professor Google. Also, FYI, the dark web used to just be the web. Guess who invented the web? If you guessed the United States government, and then they didn't know what to do with it, so now it's just the internet? Ding, ding, ding. That's what it is. Yes, our government invented the internet as like some clandestine tool for them to use. And then they were like, okay, we're done with it now. So now what do we do? Yeah, that's literally what happened. That's where the internet came from. And I'm not trying to bash our government. I mean, we've done some great things, Constitution, freedom, and all that. We've done some great things, and foundationally, it's a good idea and a great experiment. But we've also done some really dumb things. Dumb things. Like what? Like if we're gonna invent a whole internet like we have, the information superhighway, we probably should have put some stuff in place. Just saying, some stopgaps, if you will, and just not like have invented it and said, uh-oh. Probably, should have put some things in place. Just saying. Okay, so here's a Melanie Media recap, because I know you guys have missed me terribly because I was not on last week, I was supposed to go to this really schwanky political event because if you all are familiar with Congressman Jim Jordan, he was in the state of New Jersey with Congressman Jeff Van Drew, and there was this huge event, and I was supposed to go, but instead, turns out there are real colds still around. So instead, I was in bed sick with a fever. So for all those keeping track for the year 2002, COVID and colds 2, Melanie 0. Yeah, that's right. So so they were supposed to do a best of while I was at a schwanky political event, and that did not happen. But I did have my first guest appearance on Will Cow discussing the SCOTUS pick, the President Biden's Supreme Court pick, which, listen, here's the issue. Here's the problem with the Supreme Court pick, whose name is Ketanji Brown Jackson. President Biden said, I'm going to most definitely pick a black woman for the Supreme Court pick. And if you know anything about her, if you looked up her resume, she's supremely, I don't agree with her politics at all, but she's supremely qualified. Harvard graduate, top of her class, clerked for Breyer, who I believe is the Supreme Court justice that she would be replacing. Like, she has a stellar resume. So here's my issue. Why are you degrading her nomination by saying I'm picking a black woman? Can you not? The fact of the matter is that black people have been accomplishing things for quite some time, like going to Harvard Law and graduating at the top of their class. So what you could have done, President Biden, is just went ahead and picked her. How about that? You didn't have to do the whole qualification by saying I'm going to pick a black woman and have that overshadowing her nomination for the rest of her life. And now she's going to go into history as that being the first thing on her list of qualifications, is that he was definitely going to pick a black woman. It's annoying. I'm just saying. If I went into an interview and someone said to me, we noticed that you were a black woman and that was why we called you in, on everything, that video would go viral. I'm just saying, get your cameras out, because what I have to say next is going to be a whole problem. I'm just saying, that's ridiculous. I'm hoping that you looked at my resume and saw my education, my background, and my experience and thought that I had the qualities and achievements that said she's going to be a great hire. Not because I had melanin, I did all those things while possessing melanin as if it was some type of handicap. It is not. Let's get over it and move on. We've been accomplishing things such as being qualified for the Supreme Court for quite some time now. So let's cut the crap and nominate the chick and get it over with. She's probably it's not gonna change the balance of the Supreme Court. She's quite the lefty, and I'm sure it'll be fine, and probably a few Republicans will probably vote for her in the Senate, and it'll be okay. So I talked about that on Wilco, and on Newsmax, I talked about my love for Elon Musk and the fact that he said that we should be banning Russian oil and drilling our own oil, despite the fact that he sells electric cars. Why? Because he's incredibly smart and actually has values that go beyond his pockets. So that's why we love Elon. So anyway, if you want to check that out, you know what you could do. You could follow me on social media at Money Talk Mel on Twitter or on Facebook or on Instagram at Melanie T. Collette. And if you're not following me, then why not? That's the question. So you're listening to Money Talk with Melanie. The next guest that we're going to have on is Shellee Howard, CEO of College Ready. She's going to talk to us about how to send your student to college without losing your mind or money. We'll be back in a few minutes.
Money Talk with Melanie features lively discussions of a wide range of global, domestic, and kitchen table financial topics. Money Talk with Melanie on 98.7 The Coast.
Welcome back to Money Talk with Melanie. I'm your host, Melanie Collette, and our guest for the first hour is Shellee Howard. She's the CEO of College Ready. She's going to talk to us today about how to send your student to college without losing your mind or money. Shellee is a certified independent college strategist and counselor. She helps middle and high school students and their parents by preparing them for college admissions process, helping them create a standout strategy, get into their best fit college without going into debt, and even how to succeed once admitted. And I'm delighted to have her on the show today. Without further ado, Shellee Howard. Good evening.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for being on the show tonight. I'm very pleased to talk to you this evening, especially since I've been in the education field for quite some time, and I get quite a few questions about this because I'm the business teacher. So I talk to kids about careers and things like this quite often. So I'm just delighted to have you on the show this evening.
Outstanding. Well, I look forward to providing some really good information.
Is there anything in your bio that you'd like the audience to know about you that I didn't include in the bio?
I think the only thing that you didn't include is that I truly enjoy what I do, and that is working with young people to really have a vision for their 5-year, 10-year, their plans. What do they want? Most of them don't even know what they're passionate about or core values, and so I really do love what I do.
They don't, and I don't know if they're afraid or if they don't think that time is coming. I don't know. Or if because of technology, things move so quickly, they think it's really far away, but they don't seem to be engaged in the whole goal setting thing like I'll speak for myself, us old folks used to be.
You can include me as
I'll
well.
be the only one who claims that. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I said you can include me in that as well. That's quite okay.
So when you start to have that conversation with young people, how do you get them engaged?
Well, I think it has a lot to do with, number one, I'm genuine, and I adore helping them figure out who they are and why it matters. And how we get them engaged is we take the focus off of college and we start to just break down what are their gifts and talents. What are those things that will naturally set them apart, and how do we utilize those to figure out what can they do in the future to really enjoy their life, their career. And when we start with that, it becomes a lot less scary and they open up. And we have a really fun game that we start with called Millionaire. And so it's kind of an icebreaker where they get to really share about what matters to them if they had $1 million. And so they just, I don't know, I've been told I speak teenager.
Do you? Lucky you. That's excellent. That's excellent. And $1 million is, now that we know and more schools are teaching financial literacy and things like that, and we know how, not for nothing, easy it is to make $1 million because you can automate that now because we have so much technology and things like that. Like getting $1 million, if you are 18 right now and you live in the information age, like if I had known how easy it was to save $1 million when I was 18, being the hustler that I am, I would definitely be a millionaire right now. Just saying. Like, no, absolutely no doubt about it.
I love that. I hope everybody shoots for that. That's my goal, is if they want it. Some students are very honest, and they're like, you know what? That's not important to me. And I'm like, that's fantastic. I value that you know that. And then when I ask them, you know, how long do they want to keep a car before they turn it in for a new one? Well, only like a year or two. So they're still a bit confused about what $1 million actually equates to.
Exactly, because you have to kind of tie that to, because I think it's pretty easy to say you don't want to be a millionaire when all of your needs are provided for.
Exactly.
Right. I would imagine that that's probably that's probably easy to have that kind of perspective. Or like, I know that I think there was a recent study done about how students in general, high school and college students, feel about things like socialism and did we lose her? Okay, I apologize, audience. We lost her. But what I was about to say was, just the concept of everybody having their needs provided for and how that sounds like a really fair system. And I thought, well, of course kids think that sounds like a fair system. That's the system they live in. They already live in right now. That's their system. But if you have to actually be a part of that system and be part of the system where you're the one who's providing for that system, it would seem to me that you probably would look at that system with a different perspective. And studies show that that perspective does tend to change as your role in the system changes. So I just found that to be an interesting point. But it's been my experience that students really have a hard time visualizing and connecting the dots between money and things and bills until they start actually doing the exercise as to where the money goes and having to provide for yourself and actually how much money is. $1 million in earnest, it's a lot of money in some ways, and in a lot of ways it is not an awful lot of money. When you talk about $1 million over a lifetime, it's not a tremendous amount of money over a lifetime. I'm just saying. I think we have Shellee back. Shellee, are you there?
Thankfully, yes.
Okay.
Good old technology.
Don't you love it? Yeah, you had a gremlin.
I don't know what happened. You were just gone. So I apologize for that, but we're back.
That's quite all right. So I could run my mouth about finances forever. So that's fine. So what you specialize in is getting kids to their dream college debt-free, which is the trick right there. Great if you can go to college, but doing it debt-free, because a lot of one of the biggest policy things that are going on in the government right now, one of the big debates and big effects on the economy is student loan debt. And part of the reason why that has an effect on the economy is because many people are thousands of dollars in student loan debt, and that affects their ability to buy a home or to buy a car or a second car or to invest that money. And so the amount of debt that people carry has a direct effect on our economy. So that's why, and on people's standard of living. And not achieving the quote unquote American dream. So that's why how we handle this student debt situation and whether or not we can get an education for free is very important. And I wanted to talk to you about the ability to do that.
Well, it's not easy, but it is possible. I have had many students who've had a wonderful opportunity of graduating debt-free. Our goal is to empower students with the information to make wise financial decisions. So as we prepare them for college, not only do we look at the academic fit, but we also look at the social fit, because if they're not happy, they're coming home. And then we look at the financial fit. This all happens prior to them even applying for college, because if your family can't afford it, it's just torture for that student to get in and then figure it out. And unfortunately, that's what many, many, many families do is, oh, we'll just figure it out when they get in. The problem is they are getting in, and then you can't tell your child, sorry, you can't have your dream even if you got in. So we do it differently. We reverse engineer the process, and we talk to the family really what is a good fit academically, socially, and financially. And yes, it is a tough conversation to have with a teenager. I have 4 of them.
Oh, my.
But if you don't have it, then you're looking at debt, because they don't understand $200,000 in student loans. They just don't get it.
Right. And how much $200,000 in student loans means, what that means plus interest, what that means in terms of an actual payment, and how that payment is going to affect other areas of your life. And that, and how all of those things are connected. So one of the things that you discuss is having a timeline for success. What does that look like?
So it goes all the way back to the question, when should we start preparing for college? And that question's asked at many different ages by many different nationalities. I've had people call me when they found out that they were carrying a child.
Yep.
I've had people call me, throughout preschool, all the way through elementary school. But, when they're that little, teaching them the love of education is really preparing them for college. Teaching them how to love reading and comprehension is going to make their life just easier. So we gently talk about it until they promote from 8th grade. And that's when we really start to strategize, because those first classes they take their freshman year will set the stage for the rest of their high school career, and that will set the stage for college. So our program starts students, if they find us early enough, most people just don't ask the question at that age, and we help them to navigate what are the right classes so there's no regret, because the financial piece, the FAFSA looks at the second semester of the sophomore year and the first semester of the junior year.
Yes.
So if you're not looking at colleges until the end of your junior year, you are now financially in a disadvantaged position.
Yes, and I've tried to explain this repeatedly, and it's like they're not listening. They don't hear. Why is this grade important? My sophomore year, I'm like, because money is attached to it. They're like, what do you mean? I'm like, your GPA. You get more money if you have a higher GPA. What are you doing? I'm like, that's why your freshman year is like, don't get an F. What are you doing? Yes, I know exactly what you mean.
Mm-hmm.
So, yes.
Yeah, so the timeline really starts from when do we start? Because families can start anywhere in between. If you start early enough, the timeline is nice and spread out and it's gentle, and we just drip the information so they always have the right information. If we get them as a senior, we have to still give them all the information, but now it's a fire hose. Now it's like, you got to be mature because it's going to come at you quick, because you can't do college debt free by just a GPA. That doesn't get you the big money. And so we put together a timeline. We call it a standout strategy, where we map out 4 years. If they find us their sophomore year, we map out 3 years. So we're adjusting, but the problem is a lot of times they've done wrong things thinking that it was the right thing. And then we have to help them correct and hopefully have enough time to be able to adjust.
Gotcha.
Which we're pretty good at, but it's just a lot more difficult for the student to do that quickly, as well as keeping their current grades up and having the social life that they want.
Certainly so. We're up against the break. We are speaking with Shellee Howard. She's the CEO of College Ready. We're talking to her about how to send your student to college debt-free without losing your mind or money. And just an excellent guest with great information this evening. We'll be back on the other side of the break.
Money Talk with Melanie. Money Talk with Melanie. Thursdays, 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern Time on 98.7 The Coast.
Welcome back to Money Talk with Melanie. We're speaking with Shellee Howard, CEO of College Ready. Before the break, we were talking about having a good timeline, and you were saying you basically start at the end of 8th grade, starting with 9th grade, which is what I've always encountered, especially since I worked in a private school for 14 years before I switched into the public school realm, and they tend to start much later than they do in the private school sector. At least I found. I don't know if you found that situation as well. That difference in working with the private school rather than a public school.
Not necessarily. I have found that traditionally, being part of the private school, there's less student to teacher ratio or counselor to
Yes.
student ratio.
Mm-hmm.
And therefore, they find out a little bit sooner, but there's really no strategy for them in high school that I know of when they enter in as far as talking about college. They get maybe 10 or 15 minutes with their counselor a year, and that's a big problem because now they're left to their own and Google.
Right. And the Google can be really confusing. Like it's
and
just
dangerous.
Yes, and it's a lot of it's quite honestly, it's a lot of information. I mean, it's a lot of information for someone who's well educated, knows how to vet information and that kind of thing. For a teenager, I can't imagine how you're going to be able to really, critically look at all the college information that's out there.
It's really challenging for them as well because, there's some publications out there that their numbers are inflated because it's all about advertising and ranking. And students look at that and they make it sound so doable to get there. And so that's when it gets really hard for students is they don't know fact from fiction. They're not sure who to believe. And so they'll come to a meeting with me and they'll say, hey, I read this or I've seen this. Is this true? And most of the time, unfortunately, it is not true or it's skewed one way or the other.
Sure, because they haven't had that class in statistics yet. They won't have that till their second year in college. So they don't know.
That
They
could
don't
have
know.
a lot to do with it.
Right, exactly. So so you inform them about their timeline for success. You talk to them about things like, so it sounds to me like part of what your service is kind of like a guidance counselor on steroids type situation.
I'll go with that. I have never met anybody else in the nation who really focuses on everything because we are helping the family understand the expected family contribution, the FAFSA, the CSS profile, and how to put themselves in a financial position to receive grants, scholarships, money they don't have to pay back. That right there is a game changer that a high school definitely won't do because they don't know the students' finances. Socially, they don't really know the students. So we take what's missing and we do that plus some. I even prepare students for the interview for college, how to get off the wait list, deferment, financial negotiations. We literally are a one-stop consulting firm where families can get all of their questions answered. We have professional essay editors who do not write the essay, but they do polish it because students are used to texting and sometimes forget that sentence structure is critical. And then we have a tutoring and testing department as well, which helps families strategize. Do they take the test? Do they not take the test? There are some colleges that won't accept you if you don't have a test. So it's not truly optional everywhere.
That is true. That is true. And so is that part of I would imagine that that's also part of the process of deciding which colleges you're going to even apply to.
If it's not, it really should be. And a lot of people don't go into it. They just have heard somewhere that testing is now optional. And of course, what teenager wants to do test prep and spend their weekends preparing? So they're like, yeah, it's optional. I'm not going to do it. But they limit themselves to schools that they may want to attend without knowing it because they don't even have their college list prepared. So they're making decisions based on hearsay, not on what's best for them and having all of the proper information.
Okay. So what I hear you saying is you shouldn't just go into college with the thought of, I'm just going to fill out this FAFSA, let the government tell me how much money I can save, and then just go with accept whatever they give me.
There is an actual proactive strategy behind this that you should be using, and that is where you come in.
Wow, that was perfect. Yes, absolutely. You summed it up very nicely. We're all about planning and strategizing because that's where the students get into the dream schools. That's where students get, reduced tuition, is because they have planned and strategized for this, not taking it, we'll just see what happens, because I can guarantee you there's debt attached to that. It's even sad to know that many families don't realize a student can't get the loan on their own, but they have no collateral. So the families must co-sign,
Yep.
and that is something you can't bankrupt. You can't get out of it by death. It is there for the longevity. So that decision is something that I don't think everybody understands, to the extent of it doesn't go away.
Exactly. They don't understand, and they don't understand the impact of it. And even if they understand it intellectually, there's a phrase I like to use called getting the sense of it. Like, you can understand that 5 plus 5 is 10, but you don't understand what $10 is unless you've ever had $10. Do you know what I mean? Unless you've ever bought something for $10. There's a huge difference between actually understanding that. So, and now, if you're listening to this, you might be thinking, okay, well, this woman just found a hole in the market and found a way to make money. And that's probably true. But if you think about it, I'm looking at this, and, I've spent thousands of dollars on my education, as I'm sure many educators have. Many educators like myself have. And I'm thinking, just like when you buy a house or a car or any other expensive thing that you've invested in, you want to have access to the best possible research. You want to have access to the best possible strategies, just like having a financial advisor for your retirement. Just like going to a specialist if you have a particular chronic ailment and you want to devise the best possible proactive strategies to attack it. To me, in education is thousands of dollars. Thousands. Depending on what college, you're talking about $100K. Why would you not invest another couple thousand or whatever your cost is? I have no idea what your price structure is. I actually didn't look at that part. But why wouldn't you invest some more money in making sure that you get it done right, so that you save money in the long run and that you reach your ultimate goal? It just makes sense to me.
So I appreciate that very much, and that's how I look at it. I often use the thought of, you could do your own taxes, but you choose to pay a tax advisor because they know tax advantage. So obviously they're going to save you money, and that's why there are accountants. And, a lot of people, for whatever reason, they would never think to pay full price for a home. They're always going to go in and do a negotiation. Why would you think that you have to pay full price for college?
Exactly. We're up against the break, so I'm sorry to interrupt you, but we're up against the break. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back. We're having a great conversation with Shellee Howard, CEO of College Ready. We'll be back in a few minutes.
Money Talk with Melanie on 98.7 The Coast.
Welcome back to Money Talk with Melanie. We're speaking with Shellee Howard, CEO of College Ready, and we're talking about how to get your student college ready, hopefully debt-free, and it seems to be all about strategy. So we're talking about how to do it college-free, the importance of strategy, and one of the other things that you do is help parents and kids stand out when it comes to your college education. Let me ask you, are colleges as competitive as they used to be? Is that only for the Ivies? Or because it seems to me that, and maybe I'm wrong, maybe it's because I'm old, that everybody can get into college. Is that not true? Is that
Everybody can get into college if they want to get into college, but most colleges, if you get below a 3.0, they're not so excited, and there's definitely no money attached.
Oh,
so I like to let students know that, if you don't want to work to get the higher grades, there's not money that's going to be attached to that.
Right. That makes sense. Of course.
Yeah. It's life.
And that's what I always tell students when I say to them, because they're like, your grade point average doesn't matter. I'm like, yes, it does. They're like, what do you mean? I'm like, money. Like, you get more money. The higher grade you have, you get more money. They're like, what? I'm like, yes. No one's ever told you this? How has no one ever told you this? I don't understand. I'm like, I don't understand how no one's ever told you this. Because they're like, you don't need it to get into community college. I'm like, yeah, but here's the thing. They'll give you more money if you have good grades. Like, what?
I think the best way to help students or even families understand it is thinking of it like this. If two people were to go in and ask to get a new job, one of them had a beautiful resume, deep and full and just really super strong, and the other one had never worked before and no community service, no leadership, just straight up had nothing. One would get minimum wage and one would get a nice bonus. College is the same way.
Yes. Yep. That's very true.
So hopefully that simplifies. I mean, that's what's going on, and it's hard to help students understand because they feel like they're already working hard, but so are all the other students.
Well, and that's the thing, too. I think that students don't recognize kind of that there's a big old world out there, outside of where they are. So, like, for every rock star in your schools, like, so take the valedictorian in your high school. If you go to an Ivy, everybody there was a valedictorian. You know what I mean? So, like,
yeah.
So, like, not
or at least a salutatorian.
Right. Everybody there was top of their class. So now you are like everybody else, and that's a rude awakening kind of thing. You're like everybody was you. Everybody was the top of the class, and that's that's life. That it's kind of there's always somebody better.
Right.
I
often tell the story. My son, who went to Harvard and graduated debt-free, when he was deciding should he go to Harvard or USC, it was a very hard decision for him. And he chose Harvard, and I remember him calling home the first week and saying, Mom, the teacher said one of us out of 12 is going to get an A, and I'm going to get my first B, and I'm okay with it.
Good for him.
So that's the difference between what socially is going to be a good fit and what's academically. He knew he wanted to enjoy college and didn't want to study 24/7.
I was about to ask you about that. It's almost like you were reading my mind telepathically through the airwaves. I was about to ask you what you meant by a good social fit. Did you just mean the social life, or did you mean other things?
So for a student, the social fit is, will they find their people? And the way I describe this to families is the chances of somebody meeting their significant other is greatly increased while they're in college. Do you want them to find that person at the school that they're thinking of going to? That's one form of social fit. The second set of social fit is when you go into the commons to have lunch. Do you look up and there's people laughing and having a great time and that's good for you? Or are you hoping for everybody's in their computer or a book and it's quiet and intense? Those are all social fits. Then you get to the dorms. Is it a co-ed dorm? Is it an all-girl, all-boy? Is there even dorms? So when you think of a social fit, I talk to students, how important is it to be at a D1 football school? To some, it's massive. To others, they hope not. So those are some social things that if it's not a good fit, that student, I have a student right now who got into his dream school, did it for free, got there, and he's like, I don't like it here. And, how do we prepare for that? He visited the school, he did everything he was supposed to, and he's miserable there. And so a lot of it was because he was thinking one thing and feeling another. And once we put those together...
I hate to have to kill this conversation because we're at the end of the hour. Quickly tell people where they can contact you and follow you on social media.
Absolutely. CollegeReadyPlan.com is the website. Social media, College Ready or CollegeReady.com. And we are on every social channel. Please find us. If you would like a free copy of my book, go to book.collegereadyplan.com.
Excellent. Such great information. I hope they will reach out to you. Thank you so very much, Shellee Howard. Just excellent. Thanks. Good job. Have a great night.
Thank you.
Money Talk with Melanie on 98.7 The Coast.
Welcome back to Money Talk with Melanie. If you missed our first hour, you truly missed a wonderful, informative guest. If you have a student that is going to college, thinking about going to college, maybe in 8th grade, 9th grade, somewhere in that area, sophomore year, junior year in high school, you definitely want to go back and listen to the podcast. If you missed any of the first hour, we had a guest on, Shellee Howard. She's CEO of College Ready. She talked to us about some information from her book, which she is offering a free copy of, How to Send Your Student to College Without Losing Your Mind or Money. And she talked to us about some of the information in the book, just some really good, solid information about how to save money on college, how to get to college, how to go to college debt-free, and just really the strategy behind getting into and attending college. Just did a really good job. I thought she did a really good job anyway. Hopefully the audience found it informative. So I have a few things in the news. Speaking of student debt, I ran into an article, as long as we're on the topic, an article today that said, according to the DOE, the Department of Education, which where in the Constitution it says that we should have a Department of Education, but I digress. 100,000 students might be eligible for student debt cancellation. Aren't you so excited that you paid off your student loans? Those of you who have your student loans paid off, and this is according to News Nation. Nearly 100,000 people are eligible for student loan debt cancellation, according to the DOE. They announced this yesterday. This would apply to people who were affected by changes the agency made to the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program last year. In total, the cancellations would amount to $6.2 billion dollars in student debt relief, according to reports. Let's see what the eligibility is. Let's see. Eligible borrowers will be promised that their student debt would be canceled if after they paid on the debt over the course of 10 years. I'm not seeing what the criteria is. Oh, they widened the Biden administration widened eligibility requirements for the program temporarily last year because the borrowers complained. They discovered that they were ineligible for the program after they had already repaid their loans for the last decade. You know what I think is going to happen? Oh, here we go. Here's the government announcement. The announcement made today. I love government announcements. One of the things that I love about being in the media is the spin. And I'm not suggesting, as you all know, I do TV media. I'm involved in politics. I'm not going to be a complete hypocrite and suggest that I've never spun a media talking point. I'm not going to do that to you guys. I'm not going to sit here and say that I've never, ever, ever spun just a little bit. Okay? I've spun occasionally. I've occasionally spun a talking point. But come on. But here it comes. So the government says, this announcement today means more of our dedicated teachers, nurses, first responders, service members, and other public service workers will get meaningful relief, they reported today. So, you know, what the media is saying is they're trying to make you feel guilty because, after all, teachers, nurses, first responders, service members, and other public service workers are Teflon and untouchable. And I say that as an educator myself. We're untouchable. You can't say anything bad about us, ever, because we are part of an untouchable class of people that you can never say anything bad about because, you know, we sacrifice. We're the good people. Let's face it. We're in the classrooms and on the front lines, and thus are deserving of having our thousands of dollars of taxpayer-funded student loans forgiven. Even if you are not one of those people and you paid off your student loans fair and square. And if you cannot hear the sarcasm in my voice, I'm going to just interject and say that the sarcasm is definitely completely implied. Just saying. So just know that this is what the government. And here's what I think is going to happen. So you know how the Biden administration said that they were not forgiving student loan debt, like they're definitely not doing that. And you know how you heard nothing about this forgiveness of 100,000 student loans being forgiven in the mainstream media anywhere? Like, I found this article tucked away on this obscure website called News Nation. Like, I didn't hear it on any major news network yesterday. It was not a news alert anywhere. It was probably some press release, like, you know, buried somewhere. And, yeah. They're probably going to do it piecemeal, and before you know it, we're going to have student loan forgiveness. This is the way your government does things. And again, whitehouse.gov. This is the kind of stuff that gets buried in legislation. This is what the government does. And before you know it, all of our student loans are going to be forgiven. And if that happens, I'm going to get 2 PhDs. I'm just saying. So if you find out that I have 2 doctorates, you'll know that the Biden administration gave us more free money as educators. Just saying. Our guest for the second hour is we're going to learn about NFTs. I'm very excited. Sheri Barbera, she's the CEO and founder of, I hope I'm pronouncing this right. I usually ask and I forgot. Zazoo. It's either Zazoo or Zazoo. I'm going to find out in a minute. Her name is Sheri Barbera. I'm going to tell you a bit about her. She is the founder and CEO of Zazoo, a digital company focused on education, inspiration, impact, and financial success with NFTs and crypto. Sheri is a small business owner for over 30 years, an entrepreneur, and founder of 7 businesses. Her business expertise combined with her motivational and inspirational coaching, classes, and course creates the perfect combination. She says, people hire me for what's inside my head, follow me for what I give them from my heart, and refer others to me because I use both to serve my clients and customers. Her goal is to help you achieve your dreams with vision, mindset, strategy, and a proven success path to financial freedom in the metaverse. So I am very excited to have her on Money Talk with Melanie this evening to tell us all about the basics of NFT. And without further ado, Sheri Barbera, how are you?
Great. How are you? Thank you so much for that beautiful introduction, Melanie. And wonderful to meet you and speak with you tonight.
Thank you. I probably could have done without so much coffee before the show. I probably could have. I don't know why I thought that was
needs coffee.
An awesome idea for a 7 o'clock show, but here we are. so is it Zazoo or is I usually email my guests ahead of time when usually if I see a tricky name is what I do. Like if their name is tricky, I'll email them and tell them to send me the phonetic spellings. I don't want to mess up their name. And I'm thinking Zazoo, super easy. But then I was like, wait. Is it Zazoo? Is it Zazoo? I'm like, I should have asked her for the phonetic spelling.
No, you said it perfectly.
Oh, I did? I was right? Okay.
Zazoo. It was absolutely perfect.
Oh,
yeah.
Wonderful. I'm glad. All right, Great. Fantastic. I'm so glad to have you on the show. I get asked about NFT. I only know like the real basic explanation for what NFTs are. And I get asked about them often. And I was like, I need to get a guest on the show that knows what NFTs are and the ins and outs of them, so that person can tell my audience about them.
Well, it's a big word right now across pretty much the whole world.
Okay, so first of all, wait, before we even go any further,
Yeah.
NFT is an acronym, right?
Yes.
For?
It literally stands for non-fungible token.
Right.
But that doesn't tell you anything.
No, it does not. Okay, so now that we know that, we know the same amount that we knew
Exactly.
30 seconds ago.
Right, 30 seconds ago.
Right.
And, fungible, that's a word that literally no one ever uses, right? So it's sort of, and I'm using this tongue-in-cheek, but it's sort of cryptic, this whole NFT thing, because what does it mean? So what it actually means is that it's a unique digital something. And in the NFT crypto world, it's called an asset, just like a house or a car or a painting, and they call it a digital asset. But what it physically is online is an image, like a JPEG, or a video, like an MP4, or a GIF. So it's something that's posted online, offered for sale on an online marketplace. And the cool thing about NFTs differentiate them from anything that ever came before them is that they represent, this is the token part, they represent something redeemable. That's where that token part comes in. And the information about the NFT is written on a data ledger, just like a spreadsheet, except that it's online and it's on something called the blockchain. And
Okay, got it.
Okay, so
okay, I'm with you.
I know it's a lot to take in, but you can think of an NFT like a piece of art or a music video or a trading card or even a deed to a house. I mean, it's that vast that it can be any one of those things.
I heard that the first tweet ever is an NFT, right?
Yeah, Jack Dorsey's tweet from Twitter.
Jack Dorsey's first tweet is an NFT, right? And he owns it, I think.
He sold it.
Did he?
Yeah, he sold it. But,
why wouldn't he?
So it's really funny because, of course, he is the owner of it. And, of course, it's going to live on Twitter as long as Twitter exists online. And, the person that owned it, so what are they actually buying? Well, what makes an NFT special and unique and valuable and important is that it is ownership. It is a provable, verifiable ownership. And how is that done? It's done through the blockchain. So you kind of need to have an understanding of not just what is an NFT, but why is an NFT an NFT and what makes it different from anything else. And it's the way that it is verifiable. And oh my gosh, I could just go on and on about this.
I'm listening intently. Okay, now let me. All right, now let me ask you this question.
Okay.
What's the difference between, because you said, okay, so what makes it verifiable? What's the difference between me going to Jack Dorsey's tweet and screenshotting it and saving it to my photos on my iPhone and saying I have an NFT of Jack Dorsey's tweet? Because now I have a digital representation of Jack Dorsey's tweet. Now I have
Jack Dorsey's tweet.
But it's not verifiable, right?
Well, it's
not on the blockchain either.
Yes. So let me start by saying, so what in the world is the blockchain?
Right.
And the blockchain is thousands of computers worldwide who are creating a unique code in numbers and letters that represent a transaction. And that unique number is unique. I mean, that's what makes it so verifiable, is that there will never be another number like that.
Right.
Because it's already there. I mean, once they generate it, once they create it, that's why people are called blockchain miners.
Yes.
Because they're literally generating these letters, number, certificates on their computers and verifying them worldwide on their computers. So once it is verified, yes, this is the letter, number, certificate, then it is recorded on what's called a blockchain. And when there are enough of these certificates, they create a block in a chain of blocks. And every single block that goes before the one that this particular NFT is recorded on is not changeable. No one person can just go in and change it. And that is very different from physical records. As we well know, a lot of people change things, and they shouldn't.
You got that right.
But with the blockchain, to change something means you have to change every single record all the way to the first recorded record on the blockchain. And that it's impossible.
Okay.
And the other reason it's impossible is because all of the computers and there are thousands of them, and they're all recording and verifying this particular piece of information. And so you would have to change for every single one of them because every single one of these computers keeps a copy of the blockchain on their computer.
Okay.
So this is why all of a sudden there is a way to make it immutable, which means not changeable.
Right.
Without such tremendous effort, and no one is able to do that today. Now, I don't know what the future holds, but no one is able to do that today.
Okay, now, who's responsible for the blockchain?
Well, the blockchain is what is called a decentralized.
Oh, boy.
Digitally distributed, decentralized public ledger. And what that means is that everyone who works on the blockchain is responsible for the blockchain. There is no one central authority. It's not a business.
This sounds like Wikipedia to me. I'm not liking where this is going.
It's very much for people who want less control from authority.
Right.
And much more control by the people, for the people, of the people.
Yes.
And that's really what the blockchain is all about. And
yes.
That is why NFTs are so interesting and so amazing and so exciting, and why I love this whole metaverse so much, because it is really radically different from our life today. It's radically different.
It is. Oh, okay. Okay, so I got it. I got it. I got all of that. I hope the audience got all of that, but this is the beauty of the radio show also being posted as a podcast. If you did not catch all that, because it is, listen, I knew it was going to be a lot, and I knew that, you're marrying finance with technology, and I knew it was going to be a lot. Don't get me wrong. I knew it was going to be. Just it's going to be posted as a podcast. Just go back and listen to the podcast. It'll be on the 98.7 The Coast website and all my social media. It'll be there, and you can go back and listen to what she said. Again, we're up against a break. We're talking to Sheri Barbera from Zazoo. We're talking to her about the basics of NFTs. She just finished explaining the very, 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 very basic of what it is. And we're going to talk to her some more about that on the other side of the break. We'll be right back.
This is important because it's your money. Your money. Money Talk with Melanie. Money Talk with Melanie on 98.7 The Coast.
Welcome back to Money Talk with Melanie. I'm your host, Melanie Collette. We're on with Sheri Barbera. Am I pronouncing that right? Did you?
That is absolutely perfect.
Oh, good.
That's
okay.
what I'm like incredibly impressed by.
Oh, thank you.
Yep.
I'm always glad when I do that right. She is the founder and CEO of Zazoo, and she is talking to us about the basics and doing a fabulous job, by the way, explaining NFTs, or non-fungible tokens, and I completely understand why we just call them
NFTs because, like, who goes around saying non-fungible tokens? And I wrote in my notes non-fungible tokens, and the Google changed it to tangible. So I can just imagine going back to my notes and being like, why did I write tangible tokens? Non-fungible tokens.
I know my phone is always changing whenever I'm typing in either NFT or token or any of this stuff. My phone is always trying to change it to something else.
Right.
Like NFT, they try to change to net. And
right. No. So you explained what in the last segment, you explained what the NFT is. And if you missed it, go back and listen to the podcast because it was really interesting. You explained about the blockchain and how it's a public entity. Not really feeling that, but I get it though. Like the goal is to keep the government out, basically, right? That was
the goal is to be in charge of your own finances, your own records, your own everything. That is the goal, is really to become an autonomous entity as opposed to a physical, like a bank is a physical fiat currency location. And you can only get in there when they're open, whereas
Right.
the blockchain is open 24/7.
right.
You can always go there. You know,
Once
you can
you're
always check a record.
Once you're an
It's very,
entity,
very
you
different.
build your own wealth. You are your wealth, right? If you're an
Yeah, I mean,
entity.
yeah.
And that's kind of the goal. So,
Well, there's a lot of goals with this, but NFTs in particular, the goal with them is it's just so vast and all-encompassing and so interesting, and the future for NFTs it's mind-bogglingly amazing. So much of this has never been done before, and that's why I love it. So
Okay.
exciting, and it's
All
you know,
right.
all right.
okay. All right. So we got the blockchain, and we're not going to, you did a really good job explaining, like giving a very elementary explanation for what the blockchain is. And I think that's plenty, kind of like asking, a kid where babies come from, like out of their mom's stomach. That's all you need to know. You know what I mean? That was good. That was, like, to me, the perfect amount of blockchain information. Okay. So all right. So why are the NFTs valuable? So, like, so for example, we'll continue with the first tweet example. So we know the first tweet is valuable, even though everybody can access that electronic tweet on the internet. Like, anybody could go to Jack Dorsey's tweet and find it, right?
Right.
But then Jack Dorsey sold that tweet, I think, for like a couple $1 billion, right?
Yes.
Why would he be able to do that?
There are very specific reasons why he can do that. Number one, because NFTs right now are the big darling of the universe. They launched into everyone's existence when an artist known as Beeple, Beeple, sold an NFT called The First 5,000 Days, which was artwork that he created once a day for 5,000 days. Put it together as one single piece of art, sold it as an NFT in an auction at Christie's, and thought, I'll make a few bucks. No. It sold for $69 million. $69 million.
I hate when my
And I
guests
did
make
a
me create
video
dead air.
on our
What?
Zazoo YouTube channel about the top 5 sales from last year. And he's one of them. And there was a video of him watching the sale at Christie's from his house. And I included that video because it's just so magical to watch him, like, fall apart.
This happened last year. I just Googled it.
Yeah.
It happened last
just
year on
happened.
March 11th.
It just happened, and that is what literally launched the word NFT into our lexicon, because prior to that, pretty much nobody really knew what an NFT was. I mean, you had to be a gamer to really know what an NFT was. There weren't a ton of artists doing NFTs. It wasn't something that everyone was clamoring to get, onto and be a part of. It wasn't that well known, but money talks. And
Absolutely.
that is what your show's all about, right? So
Indeed.
Right? So this is why people sat up and noticed. Instead of people being like, who cares about NFT? Whatever, the blockchain, cryptocurrency, that's like cryptic stuff. I don't really care. I'm not really interested. And then all of a sudden, $69 million hit the front page of everything. And people were awakened, right? They were woke. It's like, what?
69 million will woke a person real fast.
Yeah, real fast. So, and really what's crazy about this, Melanie, is that prior to the Christie's auction, he was selling stuff for $100, $150, a couple $1,000 here and there when he got a project, but nothing like this. And if you look at his art, it's fantastic. It's fantastical. It's very surreal and very political, which you would probably love it. It's not something that is typical. It's not something that is easily copyable. And yet he was giving it away for free for people to use because he felt that art should be for everybody. So why did he do an NFT? What changes in the world? What happens in the world that makes something so different, so special, so unique, so exciting that it wakes you up? And it's when someone does something disruptive. And him taking a piece of art to Christie's, who didn't even have a department for NFTs, and saying, hey, you know what? I think I want to sell this as an NFT. It's this cool new way to sell stuff, and I think you guys should be the ones to do it. And they're like, oh, wait, but we don't even have a department or a person for that. Let us find one, and let us make it, and let us try that. So they disrupted traditional auction houses, NFTs. They disrupted the traditional art market, NFTs. They have disrupted traditional art. They have, everything is being disrupted, and that's what's exciting. And that's what makes it really special. And that's why, if you're listening about NFTs, if you're interested in NFTs, you want to DYOR. You want to do your own research about this. Because it is amazing. It's exciting.
Did you know this? This is a complete coincidence. I wish that I planned this. Like, I wish that I was this good. I'm not this good. Do you know this is the year anniversary of that Beeple art sale? Did you know this?
Oh, literally today?
I just March 11th. No, I'm not kidding. March 11th. I just Googled Beeple art NFT. And all these articles just came up, and everybody's talking about how it's the 1 year anniversary.
Oh,
like, I really wish that I had planned this, but I completely did not. I'm way too honest. I want to say it like, yeah, I'm celebrating the NFT anniversary. I'm totally complete coincidence.
But here's what's so funny, Melanie. I wasn't even planning to talk about people, and I don't even know why. I don't even know what it was or why it was that I started. Talking about him, but
there's seriously like 20 articles. And I'm like, why are they so recent? Like, I'm noticing they're like 5 hours old, 4 hours old. I'm like, why are they so? And then I saw it's the anniversary. Yeah, that's hilarious. Wow. Yes.
Well, so anyone who's listening, if you're interested, it's going to be easy to find the info about people.
Yes, because apparently it's the 11th is the anniversary. The anniversary is tomorrow. Yeah.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah, that's insane.
Crazy.
Okay, so what made it unique and what made so he basically was a disruptor, and Christie's, who had the forethought or just the risk, said it really wasn't a big risk for them. If it didn't sell, they're not losing anything. So go ahead and do it.
No. No, but it was interesting that they were willing to take a risk on someone who was not a big, well-known artist. I mean, now they are, of course.
Right.
Now they have huge artists doing NFTs, and literally that launched their whole NFT department into the stratosphere because now NFTs from major artists are selling for tons and tons of money. And it really is so interesting how just one person, literally just one person, can change the history of art. And that has changed the history of art completely.
That's insane. Okay. So that's I was not expecting that to be the story. How that happened? Okay, I thought it was going to be like some brilliant financial computer nerd that invented it, but no, like some artists. Okay.
Wait. Okay, let me backtrack then. Let me backtrack because truly, it is computer nerds who created NFTs.
Well, of course.
Truly, of course, and gamers, of course.
Yes.
Because gamers are into digital, right? Into the digital world in a huge way, and also interacting community-wise with each other in a huge way. So, yeah, and that started with these two guys who called their business Larva Labs and created a collection called CryptoPunks. And CryptoPunks was launched in 2017, not the beginning of the NFT stratosphere, but launched in 2017. And at the time that they put it out, it was what's called a generative collection, where they created a whole bunch of layers of eyes and hats and lips and skin tone and backgrounds and stuff like that, and then stuck all that into a computer software program that they created, excuse me, and said, okay, computer, spit out 10,000 unique characters.
I knew exactly where this was going. You should
Right?
see. I almost lost my headset. So my producer's cracking up over here because when you started talking, I knew where this was going. And we're up
Right.
and we're up against the commercial break. I gotta go. We'll be right back. We're talking. That is hilarious. Because a bunch of my students are gamers, of course. So as soon as you started talking about the characters, I was like, I know what she's getting ready to say. We're talking to Sheri Barbera. We're talking about NFTs. We'll be back in a few minutes.
Money Talk with Melanie features entrepreneurs, CEOs, and politicos who are experts in their fields. Money Talk with Melanie. Money Talk with Melanie on 98.7 The Coast.
Welcome back to Money Talk with Melanie. We're talking to Sheri Barbera from Zazoo. We're talking about NFTs, having a really interesting conversation about NFTs. I'm floored. I did not know this. Okay, we need to talk about the money now. We need to get back to talking about the money. We have the background. If you're just joining us and you want to know what NFTs are and the origins of NFTs, you want to know this. Okay, we're going to get back to the money part, but you missed some excellent information. That's why the show is posted as a podcast. You want to go back and listen to it. Jump on it, 98.7, 97.5. What am I saying? 98.7, the Coast website, or on any of my social media, and you'll find a link to the podcast sometime tomorrow. But anyway, so what's the connection between NFTs and cryptocurrency? They're stored in the same place, right? On the blockchain. Or no, they're not? They are, right?
They're not. No.
They're not?
Cryptocurrency is not stored on the blockchain. The blockchain is a digital data ledger. It's a ledger. It's like a spreadsheet. It records transactions. That's what it does. It records transactions. Now, there are people who do store their NFTs on the blockchain, literally on the blockchain.
Uh-huh.
That costs a lot of money because it requires a whole lot of people worldwide to create a contract to store those actual NFTs literally on the blockchain.
Uh-huh.
So most NFTs are not stored on the blockchain itself, just the record of the transaction. And that is really what the blockchain is about. So the connection between NFTs and cryptocurrency is that you buy the NFTs with crypto, and you use what's called a crypto wallet that you fund with fiat currency. So you need to be connected to a bank, because how else do you get money into your digital wallet?
Right.
You've got to take money out of your bank account and put it into your digital wallet. And so there are trading exchanges, just like the stock market, where you do this. And one of the big ones is Coinbase.
Right.
And there's a whole bunch of them. But you use an exchange to fund your wallet. And wallets are something like MetaMask is one of the biggest wallets. I own a MetaMask wallet.
Right.
And then you put money into your MetaMask wallet. It can take up to 7 days to literally fund it because banks don't like it. So they're not making it a priority.
Imagine that. Okay.
Imagine that. So they're just taking their little sweet time, putting the money into the wallet. So if you think that you can just open a wallet today and start buying NFTs right this second with cryptocurrency, you can't. It's not even possible because of the banks. Not because of the crypto. They want you to do it immediately.
Of course.
But it's because of the banks. So you need to fund your wallet, and then you go on to what's called a digital marketplace, an NFT marketplace, where you now pay for NFTs with your cryptocurrency in your crypto wallet. And that's how they're connected.
Okay.
Is that okay?
I got it. Okay. Now, all right. So if you're not, I want to get back to the storage of the NFTs for 1 second. If you're not storing your NFT on a blockchain, because you said that's like super expensive, but I would imagine the reason why it's super expensive is because that's probably the most secure way to store your NFT, right?
Exactly.
So where do you store it if you can't store it on the blockchain itself?
There are storage sites, and there are two of them that are the most commonly used for NFTs, and those are where NFTs are stored. So they're still stored in the metaverse. They're still stored online, which means, yes, there is a computer somewhere or computers that are storing these digital NFTs. Now, with that having been said, it almost doesn't matter because of the blockchain. So there is a record of the actual NFT that literally describes it so that it could be recreated should the computers that it's stored on explode or something, right? Get fried or whatever. Like maybe there's a storm and they get exploded. So the blockchain is so important because not only does it store the actual transaction, but it stores the exact description of what the NFT is. And this is why even if you have an NFT and it's stored somewhere else, it is replaceable in the sense that the blockchain says this is specifically what it is, what it looks like, how it performs if it's a video, et cetera, et cetera. So yes, the blockchain is the most secure place to store your NFTs, but yes, it is also the most expensive because it requires the most computer energy to store it.
Okay. And the blockchain is also secured, though, kind of by the public as a whole.
Yes. But yes and no, because the people that secure the blockchain are what are known as miners.
Right.
And the reason that they are miners is because they are mining for that one unique digital number-letter combination that has never existed before to record your one unique transaction. And so that requires a tremendous amount of energy, computer energy, to create that number letter. And that is why there are fees attached to the purchase and sale of an NFT. And they're called gas fees. And gas fees are what you pay the miners to create that unique digital transaction on the blockchain for you. So they are literally working. They're actually working, these people, for you when you're buying or selling an NFT. They work for you.
Okay.
And that's why you pay a fee for that. You're paying them.
And is that why, in theory, that we're able to trust them? Like, that's why we're able to trust them to be secure? Because, that's what I'm thinking. Like, why do I trust that person? Why am I trusting that?
You do not trust one person, and that's the key. The key is that it's not one person. The key is that there are probably 150 miners worldwide working at the same time to come up with that unique digital transaction number for you.
Okay.
And when the one person actually hits it and it goes onto the blockchain as, yes, this is the unique number, and they get paid, they're the ones that get paid. Now, every single other miner that worked on it records it on their copy of the blockchain. So now it is recorded on thousands of computers worldwide, because as it gets recorded from miner to miner, then it goes to additionally they call them nodes. It goes additionally to all of the nodes, all of the computers worldwide that keep a copy of the blockchain as it adds blocks, it adds transactions.
Okay. I got it. I got you. I got it. I have it. All right. Now, I got it.
I'm seeing your mind.
You see it? You see it? Okay.
I love it.
Now, if you're listening to this and you're like, okay, I so do not got it, remember this will be
Ask Melanie.
This show will be posted as a podcast, and you can go back and listen to it a couple of times until you get it. Now, part of the reason why I have it is because this is not my first rodeo with NFTs. I've read a bit about it. So this is not my first exposure to NFTs. But I needed it to be broken down into like little itty bitty steps. Now, here's what I really need to know. How do you make money off of it? Like, with the stock market, the value changes, buy low, sell high. You know how you make money on the stock market. You buy a little piece of a company. When the value goes up, you make money. If the value goes down, you lose money. It's pretty basic. How does that work with an NFT?
Exactly the same way.
Really?
It is literally exactly the same, because NFTs work on these marketplaces, but these marketplaces are based on cryptocurrency. And cryptocurrency is volatile. It's volatile.
Very volatile.
Like any stock, just like any currency is volatile, right?
Right.
So all of this is volatile. So how do you make money? You make money exactly like stocks, where you profit from buying and selling them, or you make money by adding some kind of what's called utility to your NFT. And utility means, how is it actually useful to me in the real world? Is there something that makes it better than just this piece of art that I'm looking at and admiring and maybe loving? But is there more? And it's this extra other part of it, this utility, where you can make even more money with NFTs, because I have a really great example for you. And it's called,
I can't wait.
I have a great example. Gary Vaynerchuk.
Yes,
okay?
yes.
Mr. I am everything entrepreneur. If you want to know anything, ask Gary Vee.
Absolutely,
right?
Yes.
Okay, so is Gary Vee into NFTs? In a massive way, Gary Vee is into NFTs and has created a collection called VeeFriends, VEE Friends. You can go to the website, you can look at it. The artwork is hilarious. Looks like a child did it, because he did it. Okay, he did the artwork.
Totally going there right
really?
now.
But he did the artwork, and it's got its own Gary Vee charm to it. But what is it actually about? It's all about the utility of the NFT. How do you redeem this non-fungible token for something of value? And what he did was, he said, okay, X amount of NFTs are going to be available to anyone who wants to buy them, that can afford them,
right,
to do this. And for example, Go to a bowling alley with him and bowl for 2 hours. Play chess with him for an hour and a half. Go to a sports game with him. Now, right? So my initial reaction to that was like, oh, my God. So he's having fun making tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars just saying to people, come play a game with me. But do you really think that that's what it's all about?
That is such a Gary V thing to do.
Isn't it? So,
Yes.
The first thing about the NFT on his site is that it's a collectible, right? And people love to collect things about celebrities. He's a celebrity, famous people.
Sure.
So number one, it's a collectible. Number two, it's a redeemable token that you can actually redeem for his big VCon, okay? VCon. And if you've never heard of VCon, it's Gary V's big one-year in-person event where he has huge names in finances, entrepreneur, all kinds of people that come and speak to you about whatever it is that they're an expert at. And this is a token that guarantees you access to the event for 3 years. So it's not just 1 year, it's 3 years. But it's going to cost you $8,000 for one token.
Good grief. Okay.
Okay, now we're getting into the meat of it because he doesn't make one token of one image. He makes 40 tokens of one image that are valued at $8,000. Okay, 40 of one image. But there are dozens and dozens and dozens of images that he's made 40 of available to people to go to VCon. So are you starting to see,
I got it.
when you add utility to an NFT, the value, the potential to make money is so extreme, so mind-boggling. It's like nothing I've ever seen before in my life.
That is exciting. That is super exciting. Okay, we only have a couple minutes left. So now that we've talked about all the fun, I guess we have to address some risk factors. Are there any risk factors with dealing with NFTs?
Yes, there are. And that is so funny because just this morning I did a live stream on our Zazoo Me YouTube channel. So please, go to it, everyone listening, and subscribe.
Of course,
because you're going to learn all about NFT and cryptos on there. But we did a live stream, we meaning my husband and I, because he's my partner in business and life. And it was all about scams, NFT scams. And I gave out 14 tips on how you can avoid and help yourself avoid and check the authenticity of NFTs in a collection and not get scammed. And so, for example, what can you do? Well, you can check the creator's social media page. Two places for NFTs and crypto that are huge are Twitter and Discord. Discord because of gamers. Twitter, I have no idea why, but Twitter is huge for NFTs and crypto. So you just go and you look and you say, do they have a Twitter page? And if they do, what are they posting? Does it look like they're posting about the collection, specific artwork? What is their background? Are they talking about it? Is there a community following them? Is the community that's following them engaged? Do they have like 50,000 followers on Twitter, but they have like 10 posts from people? What does that mean? Well, it means they're bots. So is it real or is it fake? There are so many ways that you yourself can check to see if things really are what they appear to be, because there are a lot of scams out there. There's something called a pump and dump, and there's rug pulls, and there's phishing scams, and there's so many kinds of things, so many ways that you can get scammed in this. But can't you do that with any kind of business? Can't you do that with anything?
I think my last show we talked about this woman who got scammed out of $400,000 on a dating site with a crypto scam.
Oh God!
I'm like, first of all, why are you giving somebody you're dating money? A man asks me for money, he is done.
That is the first really good.
You are a history. Bye.
Oh my gosh.
But he sent her a link to invest in over the phone, and she invested $400,000. What?
Oh, that literally, that Melanie, that makes me want to cry.
It
just
does.
makes me
I
wanna
mean,
cry.
that literally should be under the dictionary under this is absolutely a scam. What?
Yeah.
Crazy.
So yes, there are a lot of scams out there, but there are so many different ways that you can protect yourself, and you can deep dive into what is happening and see, should I be buying this? Is it even real? I mean, there are NFT scammers out there that are using artificial intelligence, purchasing bots that are scraping collections and reselling them as their own. Scraping the whole collection, all of the artwork, and selling them as their own, and making thousands of dollars for art are out there and have sold. And so how do you protect yourself? And there are so many ways. As an artist, as a buyer, there are ways.
Unfortunately, we're out of time, so what they're going to have to do is subscribe to your YouTube channel, tell people where to follow you, subscribe, and all that stuff really, really quick.
Okay, so you can subscribe to Zazoo Me on YouTube, also on Twitter, Instagram, wherever you want. Also, me personally, Sheri, Sheri, Barbera, Barbera. My Twitter page has, 3,000 followers or something like that. I talk a lot about NFTs. Any of those places. I am doing an NFT boot camp this coming week. If you want to be a part of it, it's not something that I plan on doing a lot because it's going to be live to just select people. So you can go to Zazoo.me and sign up for the NFT bootcamp. So there are a lot of ways that you can find out about Zazoo and what you can do with NFTs and crypto just by following me and subscribing.
Excellent. Sheri Barbera, folks from Zazoo. I appreciate you. Thanks so much for being on Money Talk with Melanie. You have a great night.
You too, Melanie. Thank you so much. What a pleasure.
Yep, indeed.
Money Talk with Melanie features lively discussions of a wide range of global, domestic, and kitchen table financial topics. Guest interviews include entrepreneurs, CEOs, and politicos who are experts in their fields. Be sure to listen up. This is important because it's your money. Your money. Be sure to listen to Money Talk with Melanie. Money Talk with Melanie. Thursdays, 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern Time on 98.7 The Coast.